This video will give you an overview of Google Classroom. First thing to do is access Google Classroom. The easiest way to do this is to go to google.com or google.co.uk. Make sure you've signed in. You can check this by seeing your profile image or your initial in the top right hand corner. And then you need to click on these 9 tiles. Once here, you'll see the Google Classroom icon. If it's not in this place, you can move this area around just to make it customized to your needs. As I use Google Classroom regularly, I have Classroom at the top. Click on this to open it. When Classroom loads, if you have never used it before, you will be asked to identify if you are a student or a teacher. Please make sure you select Teacher, as that will then allow you to create a Google Classroom. To create a Google Classroom, you need to select this add sign at the top right hand corner and then select Create Class. Give your class a name, and then you can fill in these other sections if you wish. It depends how you operate. You may have a classroom for each subject. You may have one classroom for your entire year group if you're a primary teacher, for example. Once you're happy with these details, select Create. And this will take a little minute to load. This will open your classroom straight away. This next section will look at the classroom layout and how to add students or other teachers and how to add assignments to your class to share with your students. So you'll see my classroom has now loaded. When your classroom loads, it automatically opens on the stream. Now this area is quite like a social network in terms of the way the posts are organised, and it will have things in order of what is the most recent at the top. Now, the first thing to do before you do anything else is to kind of make sure this area is not cluttered. So to do this, we go to the settings wheel at the top right again. We scroll down to this general section, and where it says classwork on the stream, we want to hide these notifications. Why we do this is simply because when you have them appearing on the stream, it can become quite cluttered. And it also means that students may get confused because there are posts for their assignments both in the classroom and also in the classwork section. So both in the stream and the classwork section. If you hide these notifications, it brings them to that classwork section to check on their work. Click Save. And then that will bring us back to our stream. So in this area, this is where you can do a quick update, you can do a check-in, or you can just share what the main message is for the week. I'll just do an example of announcement. There are options where you could assign this to all your classes. So if you're doing the same update for several classes, if you're a secondary teacher, you could select a few of these classes to share this with. And you can also assign to all students or some students. Now, there are no students in my classroom yet, so I cannot select individuals to receive this. But if you have students in your classroom, simply deselect all students and highlight those you intend to see the message. When you're happy, you can either post this, or by selecting the drop-down menu, we can schedule. So you could schedule this for the next day, you could schedule it for a specific date as a reminder to students, whatever works best for you. I'm just going to post this now. The next section we'll skip over, so we're going to skip past classwork. This is the main area we will focus on. We will go to people, but this next part is looking at how we invite people as students to our classroom. So underneath your class name, you will see the class code. Now, when your students sign into Classroom, so if I show you as an example, they can type in this code where you selected create class, they would select join class and type in the code here and select join. So that's this code here. Now you could share that with your students on your school website, for example, or it could be a bit of information that gets sent to the parents so the students have that. But that is your class code. The other way to invite students is to go to people, and select this plus sign next to the person at students, and then you can type in their name. Just make sure you're selecting the right account and select invite. Likewise, you can also invite co-teachers. So if you're sharing classes, if you've got your support for learning teacher, your additional support needs teachers, or if you've also got your class cover, you can invite other teachers as well. So I will invite another teacher to join and invite, and they will have to accept that invitation. That will be sent to both their Gmail account and also they will see it when they log into Google Classroom. Next thing we will do is we will go to the classwork section. So this is the main part of Classroom. This is where all the tasks are put up. This is where you can ask questions, quizzes, you can add materials to support revision purposes, and you can also create assignments. So the first thing I'm going to show you is creating an assignment. That's probably the most used feature in this section. You will see this create button at the top left. Select this and then the top option of assignment. Now I'm going to do a writing example, and I have got my instructions ready to copy and paste. So pop your instructions in. This is an optional section. However, I would encourage you to have your learning outcome and some instructions so that everyone's clear on what they're asked to do. You could also add a video of yourself explaining what the task is and a demo, and to do that you would add, and you could add it as a file from your Google Drive, or as a teacher you could create a YouTube channel and have your videos there available to upload to your classroom. I'm going to select files from my Google Drive. I will say as well that if you want to have things that are for each student to have their own copy, you will need to have it as a Google Docs style file. So rather than having a Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint, it's really important that you have them in Google Docs format in order to be able to make the most of all these features. And you will see a how-to guide on how to do that in the Google Drive video available on the See Digital page and also the Techie Tea Party website. So I'm going to choose Google Drive, and I have opened these recently. So I have got my demo collaborative doc. So I would use a collaborative document for planning, for brainstorming ideas, or you can have it as a getting to know you activity. The important thing with collaborative docs in Google Classroom is that students can edit the file. So that is your original file they are able to edit. It is not a different copy. So if you do want to reuse that file for other purposes, make sure that you have created a copy of it as well. So they can edit that file. They will all be on it at the same time, or they will all be able to see each other's work on that same document as it is shared. It's like a shared bit of paper being passed around the classroom. The next thing I'm going to do is make a copy of some documents for the students to actually complete their work on. So again, I'll go into the Google Drive, and I am going to get their planning storyboard from Google Jamboard. And this time I want them to have their own copy. So I'm going to make a copy for each student. And then I am also going to add the writing template. So I'm putting all of these documents into the Google Classroom to make it as easy as possible for students to access this and complete the task. So it's worth noting with the make a copy for each student that when the students open this, it will have their name next to it already. They don't need to add that to the file. And they are not able to see each other's work. This is they're viewing their own work only. They're not able to access anybody else's. The next thing to do is make sure that you have completed this section on the right hand side as far as possible or as far as is relevant. Again, you have the option to assign this to multiple classes. So if you do have your class, if you're a primary teacher, you could have this for several groups. If you've got writing groups, you could put the same task in. Or if you are a secondary teacher and you teach multiple subjects, or you teach multiple groups of the same year group, you can assign this to all of those classes at once without the need to copy and paste and redo your work. I'm not going to have a points value. However, if you do want that, feel free to add that in. It may be in line with your success criteria. I'm going to select a due date. So I'm going to select the Friday of the first week back of term. What I would suggest doing is having clear topics. So having these, if it's secondary, in line with your units of study, or in primary, in line with the subjects you're teaching. So because this is a primary level task, I'm going to create a topic for literacy. I'm not going to use a rubric for this. That's not really relevant to this task. I will upload some example websites of what rubrics are into the Techie Tea Party website for your own reference. I'm not going to go through that in this video. And like the post on the class stream, we can either assign this straight away or we can schedule it. So I'm going to schedule this task for the first week back after the holidays, and I'm going to schedule it for the first Tuesday back at 10 o'clock. So I know that this task is ready to go, and click schedule. So that will then bring us back into classwork, and you'll see the topic is now there with the task underneath. I could create a material, so all materials are read only, and I'm just going to do this on adjectives, and I'm going to get my YouTube link that I have already found earlier, and I'm going to add that as a link, copy and paste that in, and please watch the video. So I'm going to make sure that's under the literacy topic for all students, and I will schedule that for the same date and time as the writing task. And schedule. So you'll see they have different symbols as well for the material and the actual assignment. Another thing I would suggest doing, and this is a great way of making sure your classroom is organised and it's clear for your students that they're accessing the most recent piece of work, is to create a topic for completed tasks or completed work, whatever you would like to call it, and add that. I always have this at the bottom of my classrooms when I'm using them with students, and that means that, say, for example, we had completed this writing task. After that has all been handed in by the students, I will click and drag that into the completed tasks, and it means that students are only focusing on the most current and relevant pieces of work. Other things we can do in Classroom are create quiz assignments. This will be covered in the Google Forms section of the training. So if you go back to the Techie Tea Party website or access the CX Digital YouTube, you will see this under what the Forms quizzes video. The question's quite nice as a quick check-in or a kind of exit ticket to the day of learning. So you could do, how are you feeling today? And a multiple choice question, and I'm going to use Get Emojis to give me some emojis to help with this. So just as a quick example, paste these in and copy and paste them over. I'll just do a few just to show you. Get Emoji is a great website. You can use these emojis in your classroom, and I'm just going to ask this. Now you'll see I've posted that. I can go back in and I can edit that. So I put that students can see the class summary. That will mean that they can see each other's responses. I am going to untick that because this is a sensitive topic. And obviously this is a check-in. We don't need marks for that. And it may just be that this is an ongoing question. So we'll have that as no due date. And you could create a topic for check-ins or just have these sitting at the top. If you do not have a topic assigned to the piece of work, it will sit above everything at the top of your classroom, as you can see here. Other things worth noting in Google Classroom is there is a Google Calendar. So every student has access to this Google Calendar for the classroom. And if I come down to the side here, so I'm going to have show this calendar only, and I'll display this calendar. So right now there is nothing there because nothing has been posted with a due date. But as this is populated, the students will see what is due in that week, and it just acts as a bit of a planner for them. There is also a Google Classroom Class Drive folder. So every assignment that the students complete, you will be able to see in this classroom folder. So if I show you an example, so you can see this piece of work here. And also if I go into this classroom here, you can see the different tasks have different folders. Now, the students will only see their own work in these folders. They will not be able to see each other's work. Only you will have that complete overview. More of this will be covered in the Google Drive video.